Mr. Madhu for this wonderful opportunity. Once again, I apologize for this bad throat, but I wanted to keep my promise that I made to Mr. Madhu that I'll be here this evening. And there are two challenges for me this evening. One, my voice, and two, 30 minutes, within which I'm going to talk to you about a subject on which I spent the best part of my youth. And I'm still clinging on to it, day in and day out, listening to different kinds of voices, doing therapy, and feeling happy that they are improving with God's grace. So thank you for this opportunity. Before I go into the subject, very briefly, let me know how many of you are voice professionals here?
Many voice amateurs.
Okay. Singers, voice professionals, teachers, lawyers, pastors, teachers. I'm sure you all must have heard of the term voice culture. Of late, a lot being discussed about voice culture. Let us think together. What do you think could be voice culture?
Going from deep bass to
Okay.
almost nasal sound when someone's in Turpa.
No, you're talking about the kind of voice?
The voice
Cultivation of a voice.
Cultivation of voice is voice culture. So the moment we say voice culture, then we have to think any vocalist who wants to do well is doing some kind of practice routine. So he or she is already culturing the voice. So then, what's special about it? So beyond a particular point, voice culture also means a very personalized training or care depending on the kind of vocal cords each singer has. It's no more generalized. It becomes a therapy from a particular point. So the course which I got inspired by and I did the course, it's called voxoxlogy. Vox means voice in German, is a non-clinical science of the vocal cords which looks at culturing the voice from a different perspective. It is about understanding the individual voice, assessing the strength and the weakness, working more on the strength and teaching how to handle the weakness, all non-clinically. So we are trained by the ear to assess the voice and understand first the facility of the voice. I'm giving you a brief introduction to voxology because that will make sense when I talk about it. Then whatever weaknesses are there, we give exercises based on the age of the person, the usage of the vocal cords, and help them to come out of the weakness or at least handle the weakness. So that is about voxology as brief as possible. Now voxology is done in 5 stages. The first and the basic stage is assessing the voice, where we make the singer sing or listen to the voice of the person like a lawyer or a teacher. So by listening we are able to find out the extent of the facility of the voice and also the damage done to the vocal cords, if any. If there is a glaring vocal abuse, another term which you all must have heard quite often, vocal abuse. If there is vocal abuse, the second stage is mandatory, which is therapy. That includes voice rest, rehabilitation exercises, and many changes in your lifestyle. First, we investigate to find out what caused the abuse, what is the result of the abuse. That could be many, like you, I don't know if there are doctors here, you know, the terms phonatory gap, nodules, all these must be commonly used words. The third stage is exercises to stabilize. The fourth is to improve, and the fifth is to maintain. So, the main three stages is therapy, maintenance and sustenance, but they are further classified into the 5 stages. Today I thought I will briefly tell you what happens in a vocal abuse, because most of us have a voice problem. At some part of the life, I'm sure you have experienced something like this. Now mine is due to a viral fever that I contracted last week. Mostly this happens due to a weather change or a fever or a common cold. But otherwise, some of you would have observed, like you just shared with me, a failing voice or a hoarse voice. Usually singers come to me, most commonly musicians, vocalists come to me saying the voice has been gradually deteriorating. So when we listen to them singing and we find out what is the extent of the vocal abuse, we call it a vocal abuse. This vocal abuse can have many reasons. In singers, the first reason is an imbalance in the ability and demand on the vocal cords. Ability of the vocal cords and the demand on that. This cause is also there for other professions, lawyers, as I told you. They use their vocal cords extensively against the nature of the vocal cords, which says the ability. So that is the first and foremost cause. If anyone of you has a hoarseness in the voice, please think and find out if you are using your vocal cords extensively, being harsh to them. And in singers, again I'm mentioning about singers more because some of you are singers here and you have come to me already talking about it. The second cause could be you're singing in a pitch which is not compatible with the natural frequency of your vocal cords. You may be either singing too high or too low, and also in a volume which is not natural. It could be whispering or even shouting. All this can cause a vocal abuse gradually. For some people, it is instant. For certain others, it is gradual. So really gradual that you don't even notice the change. Over a period of time, you will find that the melody is lost. That is the second main cause of vocal abuse. The third is a wrong vocal protection, like unwanted nasality, habituated nasality, where you use the nasal passage more for resonation instead of your vestibule, which is your most important inbuilt resonator of the body, your mouth. So not having an open throated singing, which is very important for Indian style, Indian music, whatever be the genre, Indian music demands an open throat singing. So when the throat is not used, the jaw comes into action and it stops the voice from resonating freely. That over a period of time will cause certain aberrations on the vocal cords. That is actually been found as the cause for a problem called phonatory gap. So this is the third and most important problems of the vocal cords, which is termed under vocal abuse. For non-singers, some of us talk very loudly. For no reason, we talk very loudly, and sometimes we are so emotional, we shout. Even anger can affect the texture of the voice. And we don't notice it if we are not voice professionals. We live with it. But there have been cases where a normal person, not a voice professional, has a voice problem to the extent that beyond a level he or she is unable to speak. It's very airy. I'm sure you have come across such voices sometime in your life. You meet people who take effort to talk. It's because of undue volume on the vocal cords and emotional, assertive vocalization. So these are the problems which are termed under vocal abuse. Now in singing, since I'm unable to demonstrate to you, I have requested my senior student to come, Praveen Thomas. He is a runner-up. He's a runner-up in the music reality show conducted by Kalaignar TV, which was called Isai Medai. And he's also sung in 3 films now recently. The films are Bruce Lee and Mahadira. Apart from that, he's also a classical singer. He started giving concerts. He's in the 2nd level of voice training. Voice culture has several levels. Am I audible, sir? Thank you. So I will request him. I don't know how effective this is, but since I'm here for 30 minutes, I'll just show you a few techniques, especially for singers, which will be helpful to you to understand what it means not to use. Okay, now, to be precise, the main 3 problems in voice production is allowing the jaw to intrude. Most of the classical singers have this problem and it's being addressed now. Not allowing the vowel R, especially vowel R, to flow out, because that is the only vowel, the sound, that is a plain phonation. Every other sound that is made by the vocal cords go through an articulation in the mouth and it comes as ma, nya, ga and all that. Ah does not use any part of the mouth for articulation. That is why R is the most important. We believe that it is the primordial sound from the human, even some animals. So when R is not allowed to resonate in the available resonator, which is the mouth, it becomes nasal and the jaw comes in to intrude and tries to escape through the nose. So the voice becomes nasal. Just to demonstrate in a live music song, I will request Praveen, first nasal, the second time he sings would be open-throated.
First I'll sing with my nasal voice. Right now I used my nasal passage. Now I'm going to sing with my open voice. Yeah, open throat. I will request him to sing a typical South Indian kriti composed by one line only, Maharaja Swami Tirunal. This is a kriti in Ragam Charukesi, and I will request him to sing a line in the Anupallavi. Yeah. The first time that he's going to sing would be without using the throat area, only the jaw. The second time he would do what is expected to be done. Thank you, Fleming. I don't know how much it has reached you, but just to show you, because you should not be playing talking, I have to show you some demonstrations, that is why. So these are certain points that we have to take care in voice production in relation to a singer. Now, for others, you can take care of your voice in simple ways, like you can reduce your volume when you talk. Now, the first question is, do you want to save your voice? Do you want to have a young voice? Or do you want to have a aberrated, hoarse voice in your old age? So that is the question. If you want to have a young voice, to keep your vocal cords young, to save their elasticity, reduce the volume in your talking. You can reduce talking to someone who is very far away from you, unless otherwise it is to save your life. Things like that. And not to be very assertive, emotional, anger. All this can affect your voice. I would like to talk about that. There was a question recently, the question was this: does stress affect your voice? Yes. Very much it affects the voice, because it's a very simple thing for all of us to think. Our vocal cords, they are the first expression of our emotions. An infant cries to convey to us the hunger or the pain or the discomfort. So after which we grow up, all our emotions are conveyed through the tonal variation in our voice. Am I right? See, I cannot be angry with Usha by saying, Usha, you should not have done this to me. No, there will be a tonal variation. So when our emotions are translated into the tone of our vocal cords, it means that there is an assertion or a kind of, subduing the volume. Tonal variations has a lot of movements, frequency movements. And also, without our knowledge, we will be harming the vocal cords. So that does not mean that we have to be expressionless in our vocalization. We have to express in a very gentle way, which also helps us otherwise. We don't get angry with others easily. Though that anger is inside, you don't express it immediately. You're going to be gentle in your words. So that there are other advantages in that. So that is a very important factor. Stress in any form affects the voice. Beyond that, I'm not able to explain because of the time limit. So that is, it was not a question asked here, but I thought you might think about it later. So that is one thing. And now I'm going to the fourth stage, where we talk about maintenance of voice, which may help everybody, may not be a singer alone. I don't know how many of you have thought about it. Our digestive system is very, very important for the maintenance of our voice, our upper respiratory tract also. Because spicy food, all that not only affects the area here, but it can cause acidity. That also affects the vocal cords. And your breathing will also be very smooth if you have a very healthy digestive system. Especially for singers, they need to maintain that. Because what you eat today may start working on you 2 days later. So you never know why your voice is hoarse. So that we ask them, did you have channa? Doesn't help many people, channa. So all these things, I'm being very brief here. So a healthy digestive system, a daily routine of some kind of a physical exercise, because it strengthens your lungs. Because that is the first factor in the mechanism of voice production. The brain gives the instruction to the lungs
brain gives an instruction, now you have to say something. So the lungs come into position, then you exhale. The exhaling air vibrates the vocal cords, then it obeys what we want to say. The particular phonation happens, the word is phonated, then it moves through this vestibule, it is articulated, and then you express. All this come into action the moment you think of using your vocal cords, for whatever beat. So your lungs are very important, especially in the case of a singer, to hold the breath and sing well, without you using extra pressure to hold the breath, and the pressure goes back to the vocal cords. So you have to empower your lungs. 3, of course, avoid alcohol, tobacco, all that is bad for the voice. Aerated drinks, spicy food again. Also, please keep yourself hydrated throughout. Keep drinking enough water. If the body is dehydrated, your voice will be hoarse. So you have to keep drinking water periodically, not in one stretch. That doesn't help. Drink enough water, it's good for you even otherwise, for everything. Please protect your eardrums from noisy environment, harsh sounds, particularly for singers. So they pick up the pitch, the perfect frequency, really perfectly, so that it is reproduced here. You know, the frequency, we try to match the frequency of the vocal cords to the frequency we hear. That is called maintaining the pitch. For that, our ears have to be very healthy. Then do not talk too much, that's for all of us. I like this, what you have put up there, you know, think before you speak. I really like that. That really suits singers also, isn't necessary at all. Talk loudly, do not talk loudly. I just mentioned that some time ago. Do not talk in a noisy environment. So we are trying to match our volume to a collective sound in a noisy environment. So without our knowledge, we are increasing our volume, and also the pitch, which is a double strain on the vocal cords, because the frequency of the vocal cords and the pitch, they are directly proportional. In the higher pitch, they vibrate faster. So they are already vibrating faster, and with the gush of air, which is intended to increase the volume, it's a double strain on the vocal cords. Do not sing or talk while traveling in open vehicles. That is for all of us, please, not only for singers. Do not have long conversations on the phone. I know, very difficult. But it's for all of us, of course.
Sorry, excuse me, your wife? I mean, do not have long conversations on the phone.
Yeah, because what happens, it's very difficult to agree on this point, but actually we are modulating our voice. To modulate your voice while singing is different from modulating your voice while speaking. Because when you speak, it's not uniform frequency. So we are not talking like this. I'm definitely reducing my volume. And the function while talking, as I told you, is different from singing. So in a particular frequency, non-uniform frequency, we are trying to, I won't call it whisper, but modulate, reduce the volume. We don't talk on the phone the way we talk normally. So that is bad for the vocal cords, especially in the case of singers. Then the normal questions that I get, so I have answered, I don't know how it's going to help you. When you have a voice problem, the best medicine is not to do this, what I'm doing now. You should take voice rest, total voice rest, and refrain from any kind of vocal indulgence, laughing, crying. This is very important for singers. And also, as I told you, people who use the voice, there is this lawyer who has been coming to me. Whenever he has to go to the court, the previous day, he goes on Mauna Vratam. He doesn't talk. Because his voice has reached a level where unless he prepares himself, he cannot even talk for half an hour. So let us not push ourselves to that. And I know what is going on in some of your minds. These kinds of things don't happen to us. But I'm saying this, it should not happen to you. Because we are seeing so many cases where, not singers I'm talking about, all of a sudden, one particular day, they notice this, the voice is failing. And some of them have pushed it to a level where they can't talk, as I told you. It's very airy. So we say old age. But everyone in the old age need not face this. So we may be one of them. So that is the reason I'm giving you all these points. Then another thing which I would like to tell you, we all do salt water gargling when there is a throat problem. After research, we have found that now of recently, this crystal, salt crystals, the rock salt, is chemically processed. So please do not use them extensively. Instead, if there is a pain alone, you can take 1 or 2 crystals. Just once you can do salt water gargling. Otherwise, you can do honey water gargling.
Salt water gargling.
If you are not a diabetic. And you can, not too much of honey, and please do not boil the honey. You can add a little bit of honey to the water, the warmth which you can bear, gargle and swallow. If you are a diabetic, plain hot water helps you. And steam inhalation with your mouth open. Generally, steam inhalation we concentrate on the nasal passage. Mouth also, because the steam, warm steam, shrinks the mucus, unwanted mucus collection here. The mucous membrane is shrunk and it helps you from further infection at the elementary stage. But if you still have the pain, you must see a doctor, of course, for clinical advice. I think I have covered and I have been as brief as possible. I don't know if I was effective because the topic, the time and my voice with these challenges, I hope I was effective. Any questions that I can answer, please? Thank you.
This voice culture,
Yes.
is more from you're talking about how you grow that. But if some people have a congenital issue with respect to voice, when they are born itself,
Yes.